Hi everyone, it's Nicole, and today I'm bringing you my May TBR. I took a break from the TBRs last month just because, March had me really slumpy, at least with reading my TBR. So I wanted to kind of take a break. Also, NaNoWriMo happened last month, which I succeeded. I finished my whip, which was very exciting with like 3 minutes left to spare. So look for that vlog, but that's not what this video is about. So I think with the month off, I feel comfortable to jump back on the bandwagon with the TBRs again, because there are some really great readathons that are happening in May, and I'm very excited to be participating. So the first one that I'm going to be talking about is the Peppathon, and that's hosted by Daijah over at Daijah's Book World. I have seen some episodes of Peppa just because I have a nephew who was obsessed with Peppa when he was younger. So I am familiar with Peppa the pig, but Daijah, that is like her brand, that is just hers. During a live stream, we were just talking about it, and one thing led to another, and a readathon was created, and I'm very excited. So this is taking place May 3rd through May 9th. So it's just, a week long, and there is a bingo board. Also, she created some really awesome graphics for you to post like on Instagram, templates for, putting your TBR together, things like that. So she put together a bingo board with Peppa memes, and also what the Peppa memes mean translated to bookish prompts. I have doubled up on books, so I'm just going to be telling you the book that I'm reading and then what prompts they go into. Also, there is a group book for this readathon. It's Three Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. This is the part of the Hercule Poirot series. I'm not exactly sure which number because that's a very extensive series, but I don't think any of them are connected except for, the main character who is the detective, the investigator who solves these murder mysteries. They don't have to be read in order, so it's completely fine. Also, I just want to put a little caveat that I did create this TBR like 2 days ago, but then when I sat down to film this today, I could not find the paper that I printed it out on. And I created it at work and I didn't email it to myself. That's a fucking rookie mistake, and I'm so irritated. Watch, as soon as I film and upload this, I'm gonna find the piece of paper that it's on. But so before filming this, I just threw a TBR together. I vaguely remembered which books that I wanted to read, but I know this is different, so I just put in, kind of the first books that came to my head that I know I've been wanting to read, but not necessarily that was a part of the first TBR that I made. But I'm just going to go through these fairly quickly. So the first book that I have is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. And I've been meaning to read this book since it first came out. I bought it. It sounded amazing. It was marketed as like the African Game of Thrones. The cover is just stunning. It's beautiful. I do have a physical copy of this book, but I don't want to drag the books off my shelf, then put them back on because laziness. So for that book, it's going to fit in the prompts trope you dislike. And that's simply because I have read some reviews that this is very heavy misogynistic. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a trope, but it's a common thread within fantasy books that there's just this common thread of degradation of women. And I don't particularly like that. Like I said, not necessarily it's a trope, but you get what I'm saying of how it works in this situation. Another prompt that this works for is for the historical or backlist prompt, because I've been meaning to read it since it first came out a while ago. Also, this could work for the mixed opinions prompt. I have seen people rate it 4 and 5 stars. It's an epic fantasy. It's amazing. And then I've seen people either DNF it or rate it 1 to 2 stars, just within my group of friends on Goodreads as well. So that definitely works for this prompt. It also works for the prompt Savage Main Character. I have a feeling just from the reviews that I've read that this main character is pretty awesome and epic. Hopefully that works for this. The next book I have is Priory of the Orange Tree, and don't freaking ask me why I decided to put this brick of a book in a week-long readathon. Don't ask me, just don't, because it works for so many prompts. So this works for the prompt, read a big or thick book, because she is chunky. I do have a physical copy of this book as well, but again, laziness, I didn't want to pull it out. So again, it works for the prompt, big or thick book, but also it works for the prompt for book that you have DNF'd. I wanted to love this book so much. There is like a pretty epic and swoon-worthy sapphic romance in it, and I wanted to get to that part, but I DNF'd it before I even got to this fantastic part because I was just so bored in the first 200 pages that I had to force myself to pick up this book. Like, it was literally killing me every time I had to pick it up. It got to the point where it took me like 3 weeks just to read 200 pages, and I just didn't want to pick it up. So it just sat, and I never picked it up again. So I don't know, maybe I can find like the audiobook or something just to help, because I want to, like, people really love this book and I want to get to that, you know, swoon-worthy romance. So those are the 2 prompts that I'm using that book for. The next book I have is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This works for several prompts on this bingo board. It could be, you know, for a big or thick book because it is pretty chunky. It can work for the mixed opinions book as well, because I have seen some mixed reviews just within my circle of friends on Goodreads. It was a very anticipated book, so this works for the popular book trope as well. And then also you can even put it for Savage main character, because Nikolai is, you know, fantastic. We love him to death. And the last book that I'm going to be trying to read for the Peppathon is Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. So ever since I read The Only Good Indians, I've been really wanting to pick up a lot more of Stephen Graham Jones's work. So when I went to my local used bookstore and I saw that they had this one on the shelf, I decided to pick it up. So this works for the fast-paced book, because the previous books that I've read, The Only Good Indians and also Mapping the Interior, I got through those books fairly quickly. The first one is just because I was just sucked in and I read it in like a day. The second one is just because it was super thin. So I feel like his books are typically fast-paced, so that works for that prompt. And then also it works for the last prompt for read a horror or book with horror elements. So he is known for writing the horror genre, so that works perfectly. So another readathon that I'm going to be participating in is going to be another round of the mini pop culture readathon, and that was created by Whitney over at Books With Me and Lauren over at Reading Parent. This round, the theme is Degrassi, and I must admit I have never watched Degrassi, but I really want to now that we're doing this readathon. So I might do like see if I can find it like on one of the streaming services that I have and do a watch while I'm doing the readathon. Maybe. Of course I'm gonna vlog it, so if you like that idea, just let me know in the comments. So this is going on between May 16th and the 30th. 30th, 31st? It's just one, it's one day. Okay. So it's either the 30th or the 31st. So there are 2 prompt boards, and each one has 5 prompts and then a bonus prompt. And they said that for the bonus prompt, that can be used to substitute for any one of the prompts in the prompt card. And of course, I'm just like, I'm an overachiever. So I'm just like, I'm just going to do all the prompts and the bonus prompt. But okay. In this readathon, I have more books planned out, not as many doubled up, just because it is spread over 2 weeks instead of the 1 week, like with the Peppathon. So instead of just picking the book and telling you which prompts I'm using, I'm just going to go in order of the prompts that are on the bingo board. So I'm just going to start with a bonus prompt, and that is to read a new to you author. And for that one, I'm reading Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. The next prompt is to read a book from a trans or non-binary author. And for that one, I'm reading The Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon. The next prompt here is to read the last book in a series. And for that one, I'm cheating just a little bit and reading A Court of Silver Flames, because it is the last book in the series that is currently out. Don't hate me just because you didn't think about it. I've been meaning to read this book since it came out. It's just with the hype, I'm just like, I can't read it now, because if I read it now with the hype and the fact that I already hate Nesta, I'm gonna trash this book. And I don't want to do that to a Sarah J Maas book, because she is amazing. I am glad to be finally picking it up. The next prompt is the accidental pregnancy trope. And for that one, that was kind of hard to pick, because sometimes like with the accidental pregnancy, it's kind of like a surprise. They don't always list it like in the synopsis, making it doubly hard. When I make TBRs, I want to focus on books that I do already own. So it's like going through all my books on the Book Buddy and trying to see, you know, what books like could possibly have like an accidental pregnancy, instead of just like typing in accidental pregnancy tropes on Google, which I actually had to do because I just could not, like, I went through so many romance books and none of them were saying it in the synopsis. So I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to Google it. So I Googled accidental pregnancy trope. I was going through the list, one of the lists on Goodreads, and I was just like, there has to be a book in here that I already own. Please, for the love of God, please. So there was, and that was Play by Play by J.C. Burton. I've been meaning to read J.C. Burton for the longest time. I have a lot of her books and I just never have read them. So Play by Play is a sports romance. It was on the accidental pregnancy list on Goodreads, but it didn't say it in the synopsis. So Fingers crossed that this works for this prompt. The next prompt is to read a coming out story, and for that one, I'm stretching it just a little bit and doubling up and reading Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. And I just felt like it fit a little bit just because with the synopsis, so I'm just gonna read a little bit of it, just this one paragraph. It's when his traditional Latinx family has problems accepting his true gender. Is it Yadril? I'm probably saying that so wrong. I apologize. Becomes determined to prove himself a real brujo. And from what else that I've known from people talking about it is that he does this like summoning ceremony to like summon a ghost, and it actually works. I felt like this works a little bit, you know, like I said, I've stretched it just a little bit. The next prompt is to read a book with a blue cover or blue spine, and for that one I'm doubling up and reading An Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon. The next prompt is to read a celebrity romance, and for that one I'm doubling up and reading Play by Play by J.C. Burton. Our main character in this book is a very famous football player. Football, right? I think. Some sport player. The next prompt is to read a book that has disability rep, and for that one I'm reading Fire in His Chaos by Ruby Dixon. In this book, our female main character, she is missing the lower half of her arm. It happened in an accident when she was dealing with one of the dragon shifters that have invaded Earth. The next prompt is to read a book that promises warm and fuzzy feelings, and for that one I'm reading Follow Your Heart by Brenda Jackson. This is the latest book that just came out in the Catalina Cove series, and I love this series so much. I love it. It always makes me feel all of the emotions, and by the end I have a smile on my face, and I know that this book is going to deliver. The next prompt is to read a book with multiple covers, and for that one I'm doubling up and reading A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, and I chose this for the prompt because it's technically in the same world / series as, you know, Feyre and Rhysand's books, and they did change the covers when they republished the old series in anticipation for this new series, so that's how I'm working with that. Don't come for me. And the last prompt is to read a book with social activism, and for that one I'm reading The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. So I'm very excited to be participating in all these readathons. I'm super excited to be reading all these books. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments which ones I should be the most excited about and what you thought. Let me know if you're participating in any of these readathons and what you're reading. Go ahead and like my video if you did, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on all the social media platforms. The links will be in the description box below. We'll see you next time, avid readers.